The Great Evil Dungeons, or to be exact, the 7 Great Evil Dungeons. 7 dungeons mankind agreed were unconquerable. Even among the notorious 7 Great Evil Dungeons, in the worst of all demonic realms, the primordial core. Dozens of creatures guarded the dungeon and the gatekeepers of the 3 crossroads waited. The homunculus guarding the red crossroad on the left is named Renee, and the skeleton guarding the blue crossroad in the center is named Pedrick. Not much information was known about the filth-tainted path to the right. And the ruler of this unconquerable fortress was the primordial monster from the first chapter of the Empire's mythology, the Devourer. Then we see a girl saying, "That is what it says in here. As you said, after the book spread among the humans there have definitely been more intrusions." We see a monster saying, "You gotta have the know-how to manage a dungeon too, wrap it up in a bit of mysticism and the humans do not even notice. You have to leak some information like this, so they make the mistake of thinking, we know everything about that dungeon. So when they see books like these half filled with fantasy, they are all over them like moths to a flame. Even so, I honestly did not expect them to come flocking here, as we see the ground filled with corpses. Then we see the beast transforming into a human, patting the girl as she blushes. We see someone glaring in the background as we see a skeleton saying, "Hey, are you sure we are here for a meeting? We are not just hanging out for fun, are we? So why are the 2 of you the only ones so happy? The vibes here are so sweet I think just breathing could give me cavities, but I do not think it will rot just my teeth, my head might rot too. Also, boss, if you are going to polymorph, you might as well do it properly. Right now I caught a glimpse of you patting her head, and you had 6 fingers, well it is still better than last time when he had over 40 teeth and smiled broadly saying his transformation went great, it sent a chill down my spine." Then we see the girl saying, "I will cut to the chase then, as you know humans have finally begun invading the right crosspath. The problem is that in the process 116 black tentacles who were guarding the right crossroad suffered a major injury. His condition seemed pretty critical, and the boy says, well do not worry too much, the regenerative powers of the tentacles are beyond your imagination. Let us see what happens and if it really does not work out, get a new gatekeeper." The skeleton gets happy and says, "Oh boss, then when you are hiring do me a favor and hire 2 of them, so I can quit too." And the boy replies, "What are you talking about? Your contract lasts for life. Anyway, humans are only coming for my right crossroad. They might already be organizing a new raid force. Humans these days actively use communication magic like telepathy, so the news about the crack in the rightward filth crossroad might already have spread." The boy slaps the table and says, "Well in that case, we will have to plan accordingly as well, you to listen carefully, we are going to switch positions, first you," pointing at the girl, he says, "you have been guarding the red cross path on the left, from today onwards you will take care of the filth crossroad on the right, the raid force will swarm and thinking it is empty, you should just gotta stop them." To the skeleton he says, "You will take the red crossroad on the left, that she usually protects, humans who realize she is on the filth crossroad will head for the red crossroad on the left, where she usually is, then you will be there to stop them. This way we can stop 2 invasions." And skeleton says, "Wait boss, what do you plan to do, if humans head for the blue crossroad in the center?" Everyone goes silent. The boy says, "There is nothing we can do about it, they will have to enjoy a date with me. It is kind of a messy plan." Then we see the girl saying, "The most urgent matter is sort of taken care of. The only remaining item on the agenda is deciding what to do with that sword. I am talking about the one the leader of the raid force was using." As the skeleton finds the sword in the rubble, he says, "That 36th masterpiece. It is a very famous weapon among humans, but it is not exactly a weapon. This sword is number 14, I think its name is Tannabella. One of the blades this girl has right now is also one of the 36 masterpieces." As they think about what should they do with the sword, the skeleton says, "If we give it to those at the entrance humans will snatch it back up from them, and if it falls into their hands again, it will be a headache for us too." Skeleton passes the sword to the boy, but the boy says, "You wield swords too, can you not just use it?" Skeleton gets so happy and says, "I guess, I do not have a choice then, since it is your order boss." This is the primordial core home, to a terrifying homunculus maid Renee, who only has the Devourer on her mind. A death knight executing deathly energy Pedrick, the only one with a conscience in the dungeon and master at messing with the boss. And a giant ancient monster, Devourer, who is an embodiment of laziness. We see the boy telling the Pedrick, "Now that I have given you the sword, tear the resignation letter you have hidden in your ribs." Then we see Renee asking, "What should we do about the remaining income distribution?" And the boss says, "Let us do it, as we always have, use as much as we can on our end, and use the ones we cannot have as bad to lure the next guys in." Renee replies, "But we do not really have a use for the magic tools. Should we remove the mana stones and sell them? We will gain quite a bit of money from them." Hearing that, he says, "Is that so? Then maybe I will go and visit the human village." Shocking everyone. Pedrick says, "It would be much better if Renee went." The boy gets a little angry and asks for a reason, and Pedrick replies, "You are bad at transforming into a human." As it was true, he agrees to it and says, "Fine then, buy lots of yummy things." Then we see Renee heading out for the village saying, "The weather is quite nice today. I will be back, Mr. Devourer." Then we see inside a jewel shop, as the owner looks at the gems, he says, "Hey kid, unfortunately, I just cannot buy these." Renee asked him why, and what is the reason. He pulls out a B-ranked mana stone and says, "To buy one of these we commoners need to work hard for 10 years, but you see the ones you brought in are all bigger than this. These can only be used by the mages from the royal palace or the high-ranked ones from the mage tower, a jeweler from the capital who has an agreement with the royal family, or the mage tower's wing might be able to deal with it." As Renee hears that, she thinks, "The capital is too far. Do I have to go to the mage tower? I do not want to go there, but if it is for boss." She picks up her jewels and starts to walk out. The owner yells, "Hey kid, you left one," and Renee replies, "That is a tip, thanks for the information, human." Then we see Renee standing outside a huge building, Mage Tower's wing. She is greeted by some people at the entrance saying, "You came to sell mana stones. If so, it would be better for you to meet with the guild master," and they guide Renee to his location. As she follows them, she thinks, so the structure is built in a way that the leader of the Mage Tower is located at the top of the tower. The human's Mage Tower is similar to that of a dungeon. Then we see the guild master saying, "Thank you for coming such a long way. I am Graumitz Ammer, the leader of Wing, this Mage Tower's guild." As Renee looks at the guild master thinking, this human, he possesses a fairly high amount of mana. As she introduces herself as Ren, guild master asks, "I heard a young kid had come, so I was going to ignore you, but according to the guard you had a bunch of mana stones. You must be well aware of the fame of our Mage Tower. I trust you brought high-rank mana stones that match our standard." She pours out the jewel saying, "You can confirm it yourself." Guild masters get surprised and thinks, "These are all A-rank mana stones and some of them are top grade. These are not items that such a young child should own." This kid, who is she? And says, "You, where did you get these stones?" As the guild master looks at Rene's appearance, he thinks that one of the Empire's 8 families hereditary possessed silver hair. Did the daughter of that family run away and bring these in secret? There is no other way such a young child could have so many mana stones. So a noble lady, she must be ignorant of the world. And says, "I was rude. I never even imagined the product would be this good. Here we want to buy all of these mana stones. What about 50 ounces of cold coins per stone? I will give you 80 ounces for the ones that are in particularly good condition." As Renee hears that, she thinks about what the shop owner said about the earnings of common folks. And she says, "Human, if you joke around, you will die." Hearing that, guild master thinks, "Damn it, it seems this lady is more aware than I thought," and says, "To be honest, our guild does not have enough money to buy all of that, even if we gathered all our money." Renee replies with a scary look, "Then buys as much as you can." Then we see a chest full of gold coins, and the guild master says, 2,000 ounces of gold coins. This is all of the money we have. Under the condition of receiving all of the mana stones, what about we give you objects that are worth that much money? Renee tells him, "Are you sure the items are valuable? They need to be easy to sell." He replies, "You do not need to worry about that. Just come this way. I will show you the objects right now." As they start walking, the guild master says, "Normally, we do not bring outsiders into this place, but we will consider you an exception." As they reach the Mage Tower storage, he starts showing her some items saying, "This is the tiara made of 4-carat diamonds. In the center, there are small mana stones, so it is quite useful for mages. This is a living black pearl. It cries out if there is poison near the wearer. This pearl was made using alchemy. As he realizes that Renee does not like these items, he pulls out an item called Scarlet Lovestone. It is a gem that can help you fulfill your love. As she hears that, her mind goes blank, and the only thing she can think about is a gem that can help you fulfill your love. Her eyes start glowing with hope. Guild Master continues, if you infuse mana into this gem in front of the person you like, the spirit inside the gem will help you fulfill eternal love, no matter who it is. He asks if she likes it, and she replies, I want this one. Guild Master says, I do not know about the others, but this gem will be a little difficult. You can even steal the heart of the Emperor, so it is very expensive. Renee pulls out something, making the Guild Master sweat. It is her sword, and she says, with all of the money you gave me earlier, and this sword, give me that gem. We see one of the mages asking the Guild Master, how can he give that gem away? He already knows what kind of object it is. If you send her away like that, she will die. And the Guild Master replies, so what? It is an item that a foolish noble lady wanted and exchanged personally. Do not worry, there will be no problem. The moment it is released, she will die. The person that annoying girl likes will also die. So there would not be any evidence left. I do not know who the other person is, but I sure feel bad for them. Then we see a castle. This is one of the 7 great evil dungeons, Chite Castle. We see Renee getting a haircut, and she says, I am sorry for suddenly showing up. I always owe you one each time I come. And the red-haired woman says, enough, it is natural for neighbors to help each other out, and seeing how cute you are makes me happy. This is the boss of this evil dungeon, Elizabeth Battery. As she keeps grooming Renee, she says, at times like this, I get jealous that you are a homunculus. To think this pretty face would not age. You look super young too. Your skin is also paler than mine. You do not even know how much blood I use every day just for beauty treatment. And Renee stands up asking, what do you think of me right now? And Elizabeth replies, of course, the most beautiful among all the women I have seen recently. I will assure you, no one would reject you right now. And then she asks, Renee, who did you want to look good for? Are you perhaps thinking of confessing to someone? Renee gets excited as she holds the gem in her hands, and says, yes, I am going to confess. Elizabeth gets shocked, saying, really? I said that as a joke. To whom are you confessing to? And Renee replies, to Mr. Devourer. Hearing that, Elizabeth says, you are saying an extreme joke like it is nothing. Is it because you are a homunculus? And Renee replies, it is not a joke. I am going to confess to him. Elizabeth says, what do you like about him? Is he not a bastard whose strengths are hard to even point out? And Renee replies, he has lots of strength and he is reliable. Elizabeth says, but he is so lazy, it counteracts that reliability. To which Renee replies, yes, he is lazy and quite big. He eats like a pig, sleeping every day and whenever he wants. He has no wits and has quite the appetite these days. Hearing that, Elizabeth says, you know all of that, but you still like that bastard. Renee replies, yes, I really like him. Elizabeth wishes her good luck, and tells her, if he rejects you, come to me. We see inside the Dungeon Raid Union headquarters. We see a man reporting to the leader, so we assume Warrior Vern's raid force has been annihilated. As we see many people sitting around a table, one of the men stands up yelling, there is no way. Did they not say they easily got through to the gatekeeper? No corpses have been found. So how can you be sure they have been annihilated? There is no way Sir Vern would have died to a monster. As everyone starts bickering with each other, the man who came to report says, you are all wrong. The primordial core is not that difficult or a big dungeon. The day you go in, they will all kill or get killed. But it has already been 2 days since we have heard from them in the dungeon. Vern is probably dead. We need to presume he is. Leader asks, if so, what happened to that family sword? The agent replies, as communication magic got cut off after they entered the heart of the primordial core without re-entering that area, it will be impossible to retrieve the 14th masterpiece, Tanabella. As they all start to think about if they should enter or not enter the dungeon again. Leader thinks to himself, we have already lost one of the 36 masterpieces, and a warrior that the royal family cherished. If you fail the second raid as well, we will truly get killed. If you just leave things be, the furious royal family will point their blades towards us. But what if Vern was not able to leave a severe injury to the ancient monster? What if the dungeon did not suffer for much damage from the raid force? What if even if we challenge it several times, and he says, it is impossible to attack the primordial core? And the room gets quiet. We see someone entering the area saying, "How intriguing, I wonder why you think that." "I think it is definitely possible." Leader asks, "Why is the Royal Magic Academic Society here?" And the guy who just entered says, "Do you not know whose orders our organization heeds? This is the third eye of the Royal Magic Academic Society." And he says, "The fact that we are here means that you will need to pay for the price of your sins," as he gets angry and says, "How foolish, not only did you play a part in killing a precious warrior, but you have also thrown away the masterpiece that the Emperor truly treasures into the enemy nest. Even so, if everyone here dies, who would handle the Empire's countless raid forces? So we made an offer with His Majesty, a solution to save you all. We will raid the primordial core again." Leader asks, "But how can we succeed in a place that even Sir Vern could not?" The third eye says, "Nifrim, we will send Nifrim." Leader says, "Wait, by Nifrim are you talking about the product with a lot of issues?" And the third replies, "Nifrim is not a failure but an undeniable success." And he asks, "Why do you think Sir Vern and his raid force did not make it out of the primordial core alive? Because they were weak or because they were sloppy?" No, definitely not. Sir Vern and his raid force were clearly missing a certain factor. Just one, something even Sir Vern could not have. Nifrim has that. We will definitely succeed in this raid. We see Mr. Devourer sneezing in his castle and saying, "I sense something ominous, as if a huge disaster will befall us." That kind of feeling, or am I getting a cold, as he sneezes so hard that his transformation wears out. We see the Devourer lying on the ground and thinking, "I do not want to do this, but in this situation, I do not know when the humans will invade again. If I put off the petrol any longer, Pedrick will scold me. For a bag of bones, he sure is scary." He stands up saying, "I do not want to be bothered anymore. The humans this time came from the area near Filth Road. Should I head over there?" He enters the room and sees defeated 16 black tentacles, and thinks, "I feel sorry for it, but there is not much I can do right now. Other than just wait." Then he goes to the next room and sees the defeated manager, Anthropopago, and thinks, "According to my memories, as long as it has a main body and nutrients, it will regenerate by itself, and as he finds that body is still alive, it will recover on its own without any need for my intervention." And he says, "The problem is the first 4 rooms that were destroyed. This is something I need to discuss with Pedrick. I have a feeling that I will be scolded again." As he yawns thinking, "Should I take a rest? I might have only checked Filth Road and room 5, but I did pretty good. Pedrick will probably understand." As he starts to walk away, someone suddenly attacks him from behind, scaring him. We see someone coming from the cave saying, "Dirty human filth, as long as you have stepped foot in this place, do not even think about leaving." It was Renee, and she said, "I am sorry. I thought another puny human had invaded." Devourer said, "Well, it is fine. I only jumped a little." Putting that aside, "Renee, you dressed up?" And Renee replies, "You noticed, I am happy." He starts to panic and says, "There must be something special happening." Thinking to himself, "She took off the maid outfit. Is she trying to quit before Pedrick?" And Renee says, "Mr. Devourer, can you give Renee some of your time?" And he agrees to it. At this moment, only thought on his mind is anything but a letter of resignation. Renee invites him to her secret place and tells him to sit, as she starts preparing tea. As the Devourer is walking towards the spot, he is still panicking, thinking about the letter of resignation. Renee pours him a cup of tea saying, "Originally it was a place only I knew, but now Mr. Devourer knows as well. Also, it has already been 80 years since Mr. Devourer took Renee in, do you remember?" He says, "Of course." As he remembers, 80 years ago dungeon clearing gained popularity. Over 1,000 dungeons fell, and the number of humans who reached the primordial core also surpassed 1,000. It was during this time that Renee's status soared, earning her a nickname. And he says, "Yeah, you suffered a lot. Is your right eye feeling better?" And he thinks to himself, "Thank God it was not a letter of resignation." And Renee says, "I was glad. I could keep you safe." And he says, "No, wait, what do you mean, was glad? Are these not parting words?" As Renee calls his name and tells him, I like you, Mr. Devourer." For 80 years Renee has waited for this moment. And he replies, "Thanks for confessing to me, but our lives are always hanging by a thread. We never know when we will get hurt or die. It is not like we want either of us to live the remainder of our life in solitude, right?" Ren says, "As expected, it turned out like this. I knew it was a burdensome request, but I could not keep it inside any longer. But the thought of you rejecting Renee and walking away, that is too scary. She brings out the gem and says, Renee has always wanted to be loved by Mr. Devourer, no matter the cost. She kicks away the table, gets close to him saying, even if it means resorting to despicable measures, with this my wish is fulfilled. And as she puts the magic power inside the gem, Mr. Devourer starts turning into his beast form and says, Renee, just now, what you did to me, were you trying to kill me? Looking at the scene, she gets scared and drops the gem, breaking it and says, what is going on? We see something coming out from the inside of the broken gem. We see Pedrick saying, wow boss, you are the best, you did not stop at just driving the humans away, you even chased Renee away. I am so shocked, I cannot even shut my mouth. Your kicks really do not discriminate between friend and foe. Boss asks him, how can he fix something like this? And Pedrick replies, well, it is not entirely your fault. Of course, what you did to me was definitely your fault. Boss makes a funny face saying, I cannot quite recall anything. And Pedrick says, should I help you remember? We see Boss about to attack Renee. Pedrick rushes from behind telling the boss to calm down, but the boss is in too much rage that he cannot hear anything. Renee was so helpless, thinking of what she had done. Pedrick tries telling her to get away and leave this to him. But she was not in a state where words could get to her. Pedrick thinks she will just get in the way right now, so he strikes her with his sword, pushing her away, and is able to create a distance between her and the boss. But as the boss is in total berserk mode, he says, are you here to kill me too? Patrick asks the boss, you still do not remember anything. Boss is embarrassed and apologizes. And says, I should go find Renee. And Pedrick says, yes, you should. Do you not know how important Miss Renee is to our dungeon? From sourcing your food and managing the diet of other monsters to cleaning and repairing the dungeon, healing the monsters, and setting up traps. She also provides counseling and resolves every room's complaints, and converts the treasures, distributes income, and takes care of the ledger. Miss Renee practically runs this dungeon single-headedly. Her absence would be more crippling to the dungeon than you, boss. It is better to find her before it is too late, whether it means bowing, begging, groveling, or even kissing her feet. Just bring her back. Pedrick gives the boss a bracelet saying, this is Demura. It is a bracelet that helps with mana stabilization. You do not need to know anything else, just know that it is expensive. Your body suffers from strong mana backflow, so its effectiveness is uncertain. Even if the effect is minimal, it should at least prevent you from seizing up while polymorph. Hearing that, boss says, you being so prepared, it is kinda creepy, like you knew it was about to happen. Pedrick says, I have a request, please do not misuse it, it is not very sturdy. Boss wears the bracelet saying, I will figure it out as I use it. Then I will leave this place to you while I am gone. And Pedrick says, you need to return in 5 days, the humans will arrive soon. The boss replies, so I just have to come back before the raid force bastards arrive, right? Patrick says, if I cannot fend off the invaders in your absence, who knows what will happen if they reach that place. Boss gets ready to go out saying, I will bring back Renee in 5 days. And Patrick says, and if you pass by the human village, do not draw attention. Revealing that a dungeon monster is in a human village will bring no good. With a sinister smile, Boss replies, if it goes south, I will just destroy everything in return. We see Pedrick saying, that things are more complicated than expected, as he brings out a paper from his armor saying, Renee went somewhere and traded that love gem for a mana stone with a demon inside. Eventually the boss lost his mind and nearly killed her. Here is the prediction: if the boss finds out about this, he will go crazy and he might destroy everyone, but it is not yet time for humanity to fall. As he notices something on the paper, the dungeon raid is about to happen in 3 days. Realizing that he just told the boss to be back within 5 days, he starts freaking out. We see the boss laying on the ground thinking, this is already the second time I have been teleported to a bizarre place, as he remembers Pedrick saying, mana in your body moves chaotically, so you just do not use magic. The boss thinks, is it because of magic? Let me give it another shot, as he tries to use teleportation magic, thinking about the coordinates of the place where Renee went to sell the mana stone, Haston Village. And he teleports. Then we see a female demon saying, a mere human like you has risen all the way up here. I will do your monsters a favor and bestow upon them an honorable death. As someone replies, what a joke, a lowly demon like you acting all triumphant. This is elite raid force ranked 32 in the Empire. We will drag you down from the throne you do not deserve, and make a name for ourselves on this continent." Demon gets angry and stands up from her throne saying, "I am the 17th successor of the Demon King Asmodeus, Lymphagria." As she charges forward to attack saying, "Consider it an honor to know my name and meet your death." Demon and party leader start fighting. His party attacks with arrows but she easily deflects them. As one of the mages starts using his magic, Demon unleashes her energy waves making the human party members fall. He tries to block the attack by using the floor in front of him, making it like a wall, but he notices some ice shards around him, realizing she is already ready with a new magic spell. He throws the broken tile to attack the demon and rushes forward. Demon attacks him with the ice shard saying, "Are you asking for your death? What a fool." He blocks it with defensive shields. Looking at that, the demon thinks, "I am sure I got rid of the mage." She notices that the mage is still supporting him from behind and tries to attack those mages, but the party leader jumps in the way as their attack collides. Something falls from above and they both are pushed backward. As they both notice that something just appeared, the human raid force tried to get back up, but the party leader said, "By the way, who the hell is that? I did not hear about any other raid force being here," as they all are still guessing what is inside the dust cloud. The demon thinks, is there another raid force? If their forces are strong enough to break into the Demon King's fortress, the situation is not good. Who the hell is it? We see this is our boss saying, "You people, do you know where Haston Village is?" We see everyone surprised, and they shout at him, "You are saying that bullshit," after appearing suddenly. Humans tell him to get away from the Demon King. As the boss takes a look at the demon girl, he thinks, she is so different from the olden demon kinds. Is it because of the generation gap? As the support forces arrive at the scene, they all start charging towards the demon girl, making the boss think, "This is so tiring, I need to find Renee. I do not think the conversation will work. If this takes any longer, I will be scolded by Pedrick. Just thinking about that is annoying." Some humans start telling the boss to move quickly, annoying him. So he turns around, revealing his true form, instilling fear in the humans witnessing. And he starts killing humans one by one, eventually wiping the whole room clean. Demon Girl is shocked at what she just saw, and tells boss that he might be stronger than her. She says, "I am very interested in you, I want to know you," and starts asking too many questions, which creeps out the boss. To recover from the embarrassment, she tried to introduce herself like a superstar. For the boss it gets more creepy, but he has to find information. So he tries to play along and starts introducing himself, but he stops thinking, "If I just reveal my identity, rumors will spread. Pedrick told me to be careful, there is no need to reveal my identity yet." So he makes a fake name, Devd Rowney. Lymph replies, "Can I address you comfortably as Sir Devd?" She thanked him for helping her, as she might have been defeated if it was not for our boss. Since she was indebted to the boss, she offered to help him. Boss asks her about the route to get to Haston. Boss gets excited thinking, he might finally get some information as a gift of keeping her alive. But Lymph replies, "What is Haston?" Boss realizes that, it is not that she does not know the way, she has never even heard of Haston at all. Have I come so far, that she does not even know where Haston is? So he asks her about the closest human village. Lymph replies, from what she knows, Riez is the closest city here. Hearing that boss thinks, the Empire's capital Riez, that place takes 2 months by human carriage from Haston. He is freaking out for how far from the place he needs to be he is right now. Hearing that, Lymph says, "So you want to go somewhere far, then you could use the teleportation hub. It is a human invention made using magic and alchemy. It can forcefully initiate spatial transfer magic." Boss asks her, where can he find it? And she replies the teleportation hub is in Riez. As they reach Riez, boss confirms if it is the right place. And thinks, there is a small chance to find Renee here, but there is no guarantee she went to Haston. I should gather more information. Lymph asks, "You said you were looking for a girl with silver hair, I will help you find her." Boss asks, "You are the owner of Demon Lord's castle, are you sure about leaving it alone?" Lymph replies, "There is no need to worry, I am a demon queen, a supreme body born to rule. The demonic castle is not important. The place where I stand is the territory of the demons, and those who stand next to me are my army." Boss asks, "Is it like the authority of a demon queen, being able to call upon demons if you want it, and she replies, "That is right, not that I have tried that before. But since it is work that my father has done in the past, I will be able to do it as well. Since the castle my father passed down to me is half collapsed, there is not much I can do. Let us stop the depressing talks here and gather some information." As they start walking, Boss thinks, this somehow feels like it has gotten more troublesome. We see them getting beers. Boss says, "We still have a long way to go, why are we here?" Lymph replies, "You must not know much about human villages. The bar is where all the information is gathered. Look around and open your ears, the many conversations you hear, those are unrefined gems of raw information. You just have to pick and choose what you need to hear." As he starts looking around, his eyes fall onto a board where people are gathered. Lymph says, "This is the collection of information I mentioned." Boss picks up a flyer saying, "That is the list of the members in the raid force. I heard it was used to stop confusion of multiple raid forces going into the same dungeon at once." And Lymph says this is because there would be issues with the rewards. If they all come together, chance of success would multiply, but they rush into the fire pit blinded by greed. Boss says, "Well, it is a good thing for us." Hearing that, Lymph gets suspicious and says, "It is strange, I am a demon queen, so it is understandable, but you are just a demon of a dungeon. How are you able to travel outside freely?" Boss replies, "It is a bit complicated to explain, can you just ignore it?" Boss finds a list of the raid force for my house. As Lymph gets a look at that list, she says, "It is a raid force list for the primordial core. It is the pinnacle of dungeons that even foolish humans recognize, and the goal of all demons. The being who rules over this dungeon is the Lord of all things, God's guardian who punishes those who tremble in fear, an ancient monster standing at the top of everything, Mr. Devourer." Hearing that, Boss thinks, is it not closer to a homeowner than a ruler, one that is harassed by bad tenants? Lymph says, "I like primordial core the most. I want to get stronger, so that I can have an audience with Mr. Devourer one day," not realizing that he is right in front of her. "I really want to be like him. My father was strong too. Unlike me, he was king befitting the throne. It is just that there was a human much stronger than him. Vern or whatever, that young hero. It is the same hero." Boss swallowed while yawning. Lymph says, "I do not want to spend my life running the dungeon like my father. I just want to become strong so that the demons are attracted to my strength." Hearing that reminds Boss of his past. "I was once like that. With overflowing enthusiasm I led a powerful army that could take over half the world. It was a time when I tried to learn all the knowledge of the world. Mixing in with the humans that I thought so lowly of, swept away my emotions, giving all I had for them. But when it came to an end, I found out that it was all pointless. That is why I made lazing around my life's goal." We see Lymph blacked out from all the alcohol. So he grabs her on the shoulder and takes her away. As they leave, a request for raid force has been listed there saying, "Raid time is scheduled within 72 hours from now." As Lymph wakes up in a bed, she does not remember what happened yesterday. Boss suddenly gets shocked and falls to the ground. As he sees Lymph has turned into a small girl, as he asks, "Why are you so tiny?" she starts punching Boss, and tells him that she has two forms. The older one was my second version, that humans do not look down upon, and this is my first form. Transformation magic usually projects the user's future form, so when I become older, I will transform into that amazing second version. She starts throwing tantrums, getting angry at everything like a kid. This is Count of Haston's residence. We see some people shouting outside, "We came all the way from Riez to raid the primordial core, open the gates and welcome us." Inside the castle, we see someone asking who sent this notice and learn it was sent under Third Eye's name. This is the Lord of Haston, Count Atark. He gets pissed and thinks, "How can they do this without my permission?" But this is the royal family's order and he cannot dismiss it. But he is skeptical if this raid be successful in subjugating the primordial core. They are too weak to target the primordial core. I have never even heard of their leader, Nifrim. If they mess things up, my region will have to face the consequences. He thinks, what if I send a stronger raid force there first? He thinks the Mage Tower's wing might be able to do it. They recently made great progress through high-quality goods of unknown origins. If the rumors are true, this issue can solved easily. The gatekeeper of the primordial core was defeated. We only have to take care of the Devourer, who personally fought against Warrior Vern. He asks to send in the request, with his name on the line. He offers a large sum of money and great honor. Someone breaks into the room asking, "Are you Count Itark?" "I am Nifrim, you were not opening the door, I apologize for entering like this." Count asks for his reason to come here without notice. Nifrim replies, "You must have been notified by the royal family," and with an intimidating look he says, "Is there a reason we should not have come here?" One of the girl from the group says, "What's with that look? Smile for me, and give me some sweats, tea, and chocolates." Count tells Secretary to go get some. Nifrim says, "We are here for the Primordial Core raid." Count replies, "It has been just a day since the letter arrived. You sure are quick to act. When are you going for the raid?" Nifrim replied, "We were going to leave immediately, but something came up, so we will probably go tomorrow." Count says, "Is it not a little too soon? You should recover your strength. I will provide lodging and hospitality." Nifrim replies, "No, we do not need that. We will stop by the Mage Tower and leave right away." Count asks for the reason of going to the Mage Tower. Nifrim says, "It is not for an urgent reason. We are just going there, to kill them all," as he smiles wickedly. "The security in your house is way too poor. It was way too easy to eavesdrop using magic. You were going to ask Mage Tower for help, right? We came all the way here for the raid. We cannot just give it up like that. We got to get rid of anyone or anything that gets in our way. It is a win-win for you. Whoever is stronger between us and them will take on the Primordial Core." Count says, "Pardon my slip of tongue, I will not hire anyone else, so advance on your raid anytime you want." And Nifrim agrees to that, saying, "I am overwhelmed by your grace, Count." We see Pedrick practicing with the new sword he got, and says, it is almost time for their arrival. We see the boss and Little Lymph walking around the city. He asks a guard, where can he find the teleportation hub? The guard replies, "You have still got a long way to go. This area is just the entrance. Hub is outside the Imperial Palace in a castle. You will have to cross 3 more castle walls. If you take a walk it will take at least a week." He gets horrified thinking, that is too long, forget about finding Renee. At this rate, Pedrick will run away from home too. Lymph suggests, what if we use flying magic? But if they keep letting out mana, they will get found out by humans. We see someone approaching them saying, "You two look in some trouble. I am sorry for unintentionally eavesdropping, but by any chance are you guys looking to go to the hub? I am the flying coachman, Belver." As he points to his carriage with a strange creature, which is a 4th-generation abandoned homunculus. It is a result of an artificial angel manufacturing plan. It is strong, follows orders, and can fly. It was abandoned because it could not bring out its original purpose. Lymph asks, "Is the human's homunculus experimentation over?" Belver replies, "There is no way the Empire would give up this kind of power. There are still stories about homunculi being mass-produced somewhere." Boss asks, "Are they not usually incubated in giant flasks?" Belver replies, "That is for 1st-generation incubation done 150 years ago." Hearing that, Boss thinks, has it already been that long since Renee was born? Lymph asks, "It looks durable enough. How long will it take to reach the hub?" Belver replies, "Flight will take 3 hours and 1 hour for inspection at each castle wall. For the 2 of you, I will only charge 8 ounces of gold." Boss is astonished, thinking that 800 ounces of silver is 100 times more expensive than yesterday's tavern fees. Lymph and the boss discuss about not having that much money. As Boss looks through his clothes, he finds a letter and some gold coins by Pedrick saying, "Our clumsy boss, one day you will be thankful to me for this." And they start their journey. As they are flying, Lymph asks, "You are a monster from a dungeon. How are you able to go around so freely?" Boss replies, saying, "I got kicked out." A suitable response. She asks if the person we are looking for also got kicked out, and Boss agrees. She feels jealous, saying that even after leaving the dungeon, you still care about your associates to the end. "I want a colleague like that as well. I want to live a life like you. A life where we can take care of each other like this." After flying for a while, they reach the Street of Gold and Pleasure Survey Rose. But they met with disappointment learning that the hub has been shut down for the security of today's auction. After that, VIPs will use the hub, so higher-ups will allow it, so come around 8 p.m. Boss asks, "Why are you closing the hub for one auction?" Guard replies, "Yes, because a quite rare item was exhibited this time," showing him a paper. It is Beheading Fang, which had unknown whereabouts and suddenly was put on display. Looking at that, Boss thinks, "I have seen this somewhere before." This is the same weapon that Renee uses. But Boss is surprised to hear he might be mistaken since only one of these weapons exists in the world. He is shocked thinking, this is definitely Renee's weapon. Why is it in the hands of humans? It cannot be. Renee got captured by humans. No, that is impossible. Even the bosses of 7 evil dungeons cannot mess with her easily. She is not called Blade Maid for nothing. He tries to remember if she was holding a blade when she left. But she was wearing a dress that did not have any pockets, and she threw daggers at me when she mistook me as an enemy. She never fights with less than 5 weapons. If you take away the blades from the Blade Maid, what will be left of her? He starts to revert to his original form with anger, and his aura starts leaking out as he asks, did Renee got killed by mere humans? As the boss gets angrier, he says, if Renee was killed by humans, it is only right for me to kill every bastard here. Lymph holds his hand, trying to calm him down. He asks her, that weapon, there is only one in the whole world, correct? According to her knowledge, it was the truth. She replies, why ask this all of a sudden? And he tells her that the friend he has been looking for, it belongs to her. I have to find it. You do not have to help me anymore, and thanks her for the help she did in this short time, warning her that she should get out of this place as soon as possible. Lymph asks if the friend he has been looking for, the demon that takes form of a silver-haired woman, a warrior who wields the beheading fan, the Blade Maid, Lady Renee. With an awkward laugh she says, that vicious voice of yours cannot scare me, as I have already figured out your identity. If you claim Lady Renee is your friend, then you must be the master of the primordial core, Lord Devourer. His underling, I am sure of it. I know what you are thinking right now, so I shall help you and you will not object. He asks, for Demon King, are you okay with such simple reasoning? She tells him, it is not logical who becomes king, but the Demon King who dictates logic. As Boss calms down a bit, she says, that face, that is the Sir Devd. I know that. I am glad you are back to yourself. I shall assist you from now on, so worry not. And promise her to never use that voice to say such things. Outside the auction house, we see Lymph in her older form asking the guard if they can join the auction. Guard asks them to identify themselves first. She introduces herself as Mel's of House Agria, and my attendant Devd. As the guard checks for their names, unable to find it on the list, she tells Dev to show the invitation. Guards tells them that there were no invitations sent. Boss punches him in the face saying, here is your invitation to the afterlife. Boss asks Lymph why did she wear something like this, and she tells him, are you afraid of being charmed by my fabulous self? He tells her you are just a kid, so dress like one. They start moving as Lymph starts throwing tantrums. Inside the Chait Castle, we see Renee. As she mumbles, Renee can no longer return to the primordial core as she cries. 80 years ago, Graphenia Forest was set ablaze. We see Boss consoling the Witch of the Forest, telling her he returned the favor to those humans, and the forest will recover in no time. As he knows that this forest has been a fortress for the primordial core, so he needs to make a good impression on her. All the humans who started the fire are dead. Her anger will gradually subside. There was another matter he needed to think about, as he got intrigued by looking at a weak and caged female homunculus. He thinks about killing her too, as to not leave any witnesses, but then he tells her the final words of her master, saying that she is free and can leave if she wants to. He tells her as he breaks open the prison bars, I am not saying I will help you, it is your choice if you want to die trapped here or outside, it is up to you, Lillo. He says that her master was looking for something here, it must be you. My mercy born of curiosity ends here, and he disappears. Lillo was a title addressed to the most talented maid. This was the first time someone called her by that, as she sheds tears of joy and freedom. Outside the demon castle, we see Renee sitting on a cliff. As Elizabeth tells her about the raid force sent to Primordial Core, Renee is still sad and would deny to go back, so Elizabeth tells her, I value your happiness, but you should make sure to settle all your problems. Those two will look for you everywhere. If they find out you were tricked by humans, what do you think? Those two will destroy everything. If you are going to live in the shadows, erase all your tracks. Because of the raid force, the Primordial Core will be busy. This is the best time to do so. Renee tells her, I will be going far away for some fresh air. Elizabeth is worried as she notices that Renee's right eye was getting blurry. Renee tells her not to worry and asks for her blades. In the capital, we see the boss trying to get the location of the beheading fan. The helpless guard tells him it was submitted by the magic tower of Haston. Boss thanks him for the information and lets him live. As they were leaving, the guard thought, I almost died, I am just a guard, what did I do wrong? Boss subtly appears from behind saying, that is right, you have done nothing wrong. You just happened to catch my attention, unfortunately, as he reveals his true form, saying, what do you guys call it when you enter our territory? You use fancy words like raid, not massacre or slaughter, right? Have you ever felt sorry for the monsters you kill? Did they do anything wrong at all? It is the same for me, as he devours him. Inside the auction hall, the price for beheading Fawn keeps on rising. There were two strong people for the security, Hero, Wu in Historia, and Hero, Tracker Garrett. As the big caller was about to give the final call to end this auction, we see Boss grabbing him and saying, I will be the one ending this auction and all of you who are gathered here to buy this weapon, instilling fear and despair onto everyone present. We see Historia rushing into battle mode, but Garrett stops her as she realizes that the thing in front of her is far too dangerous. Boss can feel traces of Renee emanating from the weapon. He is now sure that Renee was tricked by humans. He tells everyone that the details are too complicated, so I will just return this to its original owner. People start yelling at the guards to do something about the situation. Hearing that, Boss tell them, looks like you have no intention of sending me off nicely. I feel the same way. I am going to rip you all to pieces and bury you with this blade. Historia jumps in yelling, I will not allow that. Looking at her, Boss thinks even with such speed and battle gear, you got no talent for it. I will grab those hands of yours and smash those gauntlets. Historia throws a punch, and Boss blocks it with his bare hands, but he gets thrown back to the wall with the impact. Historia thinks she did it. As she hears the Boss from the dust cloud, she thinks, he is still alive. That technique destroys most dungeon bosses in an instant. She cannot figure out who is this monster in front of her. Boss goes into devourer mode to swallow her. We see Garrett coming from the back as Historia tells her not to come closer. We see Lymph asking the Boss if he is alright. She thought he died a helpless death. Boss thinks, that attack was not something a human is capable of delivering. If something like that had hit my heart, it could have undone my polymorph. Pedrick would have scolded me like hell for that. As Boss thinks about the fight, while he is distracted by Historia, Garrett casts several layers of protection and escapes at the same time, making him smart, piquing his interest in humans more. Somewhere in the streets, we see Historia has fallen into the ground. It was making her feel ashamed after being defeated by just one attack from a monster. She looks around for Garrett. She comes in saying, how can I hear you if speak so softly, making her relieved to see that she is alive too. Garrett starts pulling Historia's cheek saying, if I was not there, we would be preparing for your funeral right now. Historia notices that Garrett has lost her left arm during that fight, and she starts crying and feeling sorry. Garrett yells at her saying, get a hold of yourself, you are a hero. If it is just one arm, then it's nothing. Do you even know what you are up against? The monster of the primordial core, the devourer. Historia thinks of it as a joke saying, why would a monster like that come here? Garrett tells her that she does not know the reason, but she is certain it was him. On that monster's foot were traces Hero Vern, that looked less than a month old. This is more serious than we thought. If this continues, this empire might fall. Historia yells, we should make more efforts to stop him. This is human territory after all. Garrett tells her this is not something that we can figure out with strength alone. We need Demon Subjugation Squad's assistance and report to the Imperial family. I will move by myself first. In my current condition, I cannot teleport both of us. She starts healing Historia, telling her to stay here and wait here for her. Garrett uses her magic to teleport inside the destroyed auction building. We see the Boss thinking if he should chase those who escaped or just go straight to Haston. Since he has recovered beheading Fang, there is another goal he must not forget, that is to at least find Renee's body. As Boss tells Lymph to prepare for the goal, she looks distressed about something. When asked, she tells him, I knew you were strong, but the more I learn, the stronger you seem to be than I expected. She asks him, who is stronger between Lady Renee and you? Boss taps her on the head saying, why be depressed over something like this? I am just Sir Devd. Once everything is taken care of, I will tell you the truth. Now let us show them a Demon King's power. She transforms into her adult form and uses magic called Reconstruct, destroying the whole area in an instant. Historia looks at the scene from the streets thinking, that is the direction of the auction house, doing such a thing in the middle of the capital, those bastards. She is hesitant about what to do as she thinks about what Garrett told her before leaving. Suddenly a child grabs her hand asking her to save her father. Her doubts fade away as she starts walking towards the direction of the explosion, telling everyone to not worry anymore as I am the hero Wu in Historia. I will never avoid a monster like that. Boss comes out from the wreckage, asking her what the hell she did just now. Lymph explains, reconstruction, it is high-ranking magic that causes ground to collapse, everything is all tidy now. Boss says, were there no other magic she could have used? She replies, do not blame me for this, you started posing and said let us finish things, so I used the coolest magic. If you were going to complain, you should have told me specifically what magic to use. Situation is now getting complicated now. Boss asks her if she remembers the way to teleportation hub, and asks her to go there and take care of it, since the humans will be flocking that way. And he leaves to make arrangements so he can go to Haston as soon as he arrives there to Lymph. She asks, you have been talking about Haston for a while, where exactly is that place? Boss replies, you know where the primordial core is, right? It is the closest town to there. They both leave to complete their current tasks. Boss comes across a group of people telling him they are Blue Crane subjugation team. They ask him to identify himself. Looking at that, Boss thinks, they are all busy getting into formation. Why humans are like that? I heard a large group was gathered around the auction house, but it was just some soldiers from someone inside. Boss tells them, you want to know my identity? I am your enemy, as he starts revealing his devourer form. Inside the primordial core, we hear Sylvia saying, it is said whoever enters this cave never returns alive, as she keeps annoying Nifrim. Then she says, is it not strange, the first room we came across was full of corpses, but this room is too clean, as if someone was cleaning. Nifrim asks his team what they think of this. As they start to discuss, there is no way subjugation team would have advanced cleaning up the place. What if it was cleaned by a monster with intelligence? Nifrim notices something and yells, do not play tricks, are you deceiving us, monster? From the darkest part of the cave we hear a voice saying, you are so loud, it makes my ribs echo. I did not clean it to deceive you, it was just unsightly to see it all lying around. I did it because I heard guests were coming to our home. Nifrim asks Sylvia to cast a light spell, illuminate. As the cave lights up, we see Pedrick sitting there saying, even though we did not call for you, welcome to our home. Nifrim realizes this is the Death Knight Pedrick. He asks everyone to calm down, putting away their weapons and staffs. Nifrim tries a sudden attack, as Pedrick blocks it saying, you do not have any manners, give me some time to breathe at least. He is hit by an ICE spell, but it has no effect as he says, 1 versus all is definitely too much for me, even though I will win of course. Nifrim and Pedrick start fighting toe-to-toe. Pedrick notices something as his sword falls out of his hand, saying, you are strong for a human, secret to your strength is buff magic, as he thinks, those buffs would not last long, I just need to last till that, but he is suddenly gets stacked with different types of negative debuffs as he falls to the ground. Nifrim stands on top of him saying, who will beat who you said? Pedrick compliments him for using magic to drive him into a corner. Looking at that, Sylvia thinks, is that it? Primordial core is not all that much I guess. Pedrick looks at her thinking, should I have gotten rid of this mage first? Nifrim stomps him into ground, trying to stab him with all his strength. To his surprise, Pedrick blocks the sword holding it in his fingertips, starts laughing, and says, that was fun, I was really immersed in my acting this time. I have been bored for a long time, even if I was acting, I wanted to experience the feeling of crisis once. With a sinister gaze he says, thank you for playing along my rhythm everyone. We see Pedrick asking him, even if Fimor is a moron, he would not have sent just 30 people, and I am sorry to say this, but this raid force was subpar, so tell me what are you hiding? I am a very kind and generous skeleton, if you are willing to answer, raise your right hand, if not raise your left. Nifrim raises his right hand making Pedrick believe he will answer, but then, he changes his hand posture to a buzz-off middle finger. Pedrick raises his sword telling him, I shall respect your decision, so please die slowly, and he stabs him in the chest. Pedrick starts walking away thinking, Nifrim is dead, but then, we see him opening his eyes looking at Sylvia, and saying, I am sorry, but I have to live, and he starts eating her corpse. We see Pedrick hiding behind a rock thinking, I knew there was something more to this guy. Does eating corpses make him stronger and heal wounds? Does it accumulate with each meal? Is it limited to humans only? What could be the source of this ability? Alchemy or magic? Since there are plenty of corpses, I should take my time testing it. Then, he starts to think about his boss, wondering how he must be doing, and hoping he is not doing anything strange in a weird place. We see the boss devouring someone. As Historia reaches that area, he asks her if she is here to die too. She says, no, I am Wuin Historia, the hero. He tells her that, I never asked who you are, I do like your spirit but you cannot defeat me. She knows that it is true, but she has to stop him. As she launches a surprise attack on the boss, Boss easily blocks it with his bare hands, pulls her closer, and says, I am sorry, but you will only get to land one attack on me. He tightly grabs her hands, and tells her to try to escape like last time, if she can. He starts throwing her around like a ball. As she is getting beaten, she realizes that this monster cannot be defeated, she can only buy some time like this. Boss holds her in the air by her hand thinking, if it is over, with a faint voice she says, I am a hero, I cannot go down like this, I cannot let you reach to my people. By using her other hand she throws a strong punch, but it has no effect on the boss. As she starts losing her energy to fight, he says, congratulations, you did not die in vain. I will remember your name, though I am not sure for how long. Out of respect, I will give you a painless death. Suddenly, something hits him on the back, and as he turns around, he notices a group of people standing there, one of which quickly saves Historia. Boss says, are you guys sausages or what? You keep on coming like links of sausage. One of them comes forward saying, we took drastic measures to save Historia, please forgive our rude actions, and allow me to offer my greetings, however late they may be. I am Arl Ethelbria's Lives 10, of Black Tiger Order. I am honored to meet the Almighty Lord Devourer. Boss asks him how he knows his identity. Arl replies, I have a talented person under my command, who is able to recognize you. Then Boss tells him, right now, I am in a bad mood, and you are wasting my time. If you are planning to attack me after running your mouth, let us just get it over with, as he starts releasing his aura. Arl replies, you are mistaken, we would not dare to do that, we have no intention of fighting against you, Lord. We have simply come here to offer you a deal. That makes Boss angry, as he says, a deal with me, you better read the situation carefully, if you dare to insult me, you will not die an easy death, as his aura envelopes the whole area. Arl knows it is a gamble, and tells him, the original owner of the beheading fawn is still alive. I assume, you did not come all the way here just for a weapon, we come to offer you aid in fulfilling that which you desire. Boss replies, what will you do if I say, I do not have anything I want help with? What if, I came here just because I was bored, and I actually want to exterminate all humans, what will you do then, as he comes closer to him? Arl replies, if you were always going to destroy everything in the end, then it is still worth a try. Boss tells him, so you want to avoid destruction, then find out where the owner of this item is immediately. Arl agrees and asks Garrett to find her. Garrett tells them that to find out where someone is located, she needs to look at the traces they have left on objects. If it is okay, she would like to ask permission to inspect beheading Fam. Boss pulls out the weapon, telling her, if you do anything stupid this will not end with you losing just one arm. She starts analyzing it, and says, they are too far away to determine their precise location, but the person is moving west, in the direction opposite of the Imperial Palace. Boss realizes that Renee is alive, and must be going to Haston Village. He starts to leave, as he tells them, he is in their debt and will remember them both. As Boss enters the auction area, we see Lymph standing on top of corpses, all bloodied up, saying, look at this, I upheld my promise of defending the teleportation hut. With this, it is enough to say that favor has been sufficiently returned, as she collapses. Boss catches her as she turns back into Little Lymph and says yes you did well. Then, we see Boss trying to figure out the use of the teleportation hub, as he checks the coordinates, and infuses his mana, the mechanism collapses. Boss is confused, thinking, why could it not endure my mana? He was confident, since his polymorph was quite stable. He thinks, if I use my bracelet's mana suppression function for transfer magic, I might be able to safely use teleport. I would have to undo my polymorph for that, but if I did that, that is practically announcing my existence to all the living things around me. And he says, fuck it, I have already screwed things up past the point of no return, it is too late to end things smoothly. He removes the bracelet. His polymorph starts fading away. His beast form emerges from the area, shaking everything nearby. And he uses teleport magic to reach the magic tower in Hasten Village. Inside the magic tower, we see Renee, asking the guard, human, can you use transfer magic here? Guard replies, no, there are resistors that surround the entire area, so you cannot enter without going through verification process. Renee says, then, it looks like, you cannot escape, as she pulls out her blades, and kills him. As she starts going inside, she thinks, when I first got here, I had a thought, that these magic towers are similar to dungeons. These are basically dungeons made up of humans. They are just weak monsters, as she starts killing anyone or everyone she can see. And she starts climbing the stairs to the tower's top floor. We see the leader saying, I made preparations, wondering which enemy I would be facing, but, are you not that noble miss who came earlier? I guess, you were not a human. Renee asks her for the weapon she left behind. Leader replies, that belongs to me now, I do not have any reason to tell you where it is. That aside, there is something I am curious about. How are you still alive? As Renee pulls out her blades, Tower Master says, you are carrying around a weapon that does not match your cute face, but do you think you can face me with something like that? As she casts a defensive shield around her, looking at Renee breaking it in one shot, she thinks, this brat, just how strong is she? Still, this tower is on top of a mana spring. If I use all that energy, I can definitely win. Renee charges forward asking about beheading Fawn, charging her skill. Tower Master tells her, it is no longer here. I have put it up for auction a while ago. Since you look pretty strong, I have to go all out from start. She makes a lightning spear and charges it up with multiple buffs and tells Renee to try to pierce through this. A blast occurs. As the dust subsides, we see Renee stabbed with multiple magic spears. Looking at her, Tower Master thinks, this is an advanced skill that not even most dungeon bosses can withstand. There is no way she can survive this. But to her surprise, both her hands are sent flying in the air. She starts whining and wondering how this happened. Renee comes closer and says, all I did was cut your hands off. Why make such a fuss, human? She starts begging for her life as Renee stomps on her, but nobody can save her and she collapses. Renee thinks to herself, it is over, any trace of her has been erased. Now, what is Renee supposed to do? What is left for Renee? As she starts getting tired, but she cannot fall asleep or she might never wake up. We suddenly hear someone, leader, how did this happen? We see someone holding on to the Tower Master. He tells her to hold on. She says, it hurts, hurry and treat me. No, kill that bitch first. Hyam tells her to calm herself, as she has lost too much blood. He holds a crystal in his hand, but she is unable to see it clearly with all the blood on her face. Hyam tells her, it is a mana stone that allows you to escape from here. I do not have enough mana to activate it. You have to imbue it with your mana. As Renee looks at it, she remembers that it is the same thing that was inside the love stone. Leader thanks him, but as soon as she fills it with her mana, dark energy comes pouring out from her body. Haynes tells her that, you have too many enemies, even in your own family. They gave the order to get rid of you the moment you act suspicious. He turns around and thanks Renee for making his job easier. And says, at this rate, you might come after me, so this is a form of insurance that will buy me time to escape. As Leader's body starts mutating, and it turns into an ugly monster. Looking at it, Renee thinks she cannot see from her right eye anymore. That is not an opponent she can defeat with a battered body, and without a proper weapon. But it is all right, I will pay for my sins here, and will erase any traces of herself forever. But she gets angry, because she does not want her body to leave the scent of her boss in her last moments, and she charges toward the monster. As she was about to be killed, she thinks, if boss finds out she died, will Lord Devourer be sad? The whole area gets covered in darkness as we see someone holding Renee in his hands and asking if she is okay. She had this same feeling when her body and mind were sapped out of strength, when she could not find the meaning of life. The one who saved her before was Lord Devourer. Renee is confused to see boss here, wondering if it is a delusion. Boss tells her to wait and turns to the monster. He is angry. How dare someone lay a hand on his Renee? He releases his aura and starts attacking the beast. Every time he deals any damage, that monster just heals up real fast. Boss gets annoyed and starts smashing him everywhere. Monster tries to grab onto the boss, making him disgusted, so he stomps it into the ground and realizes that the source of this monster's power is the magic tower's mana. And he says, if that's what it is much easier. As he swallows the beast with magic tower altogether and says, you sure taste disgusting. He looks at Renee and sits with her saying, there were a lot of things I wanted to say when I got to meet you, but now that we are here, my mind has gone blank. If I knew this would happen, I would have written it down or something. Also, I met a green-haired human on my way here. I did kill him. That would not be a problem, right? Then he says, Renee, I am sorry for what I did a few days ago. Renee replies, there is nothing Lord Devourer should be sorry for. It is Renee who does not have the right to face him. He tells her that Primordial Core needs a guardian named Renee. And me too, Renee, I need you. She asks if he is not resentful of her. He says, I am not, as he stands up and says, I have something for you. He pulls out beheading fang, saying, it is an item that you left behind. She holds the weapon in her arms and starts crying. As tears start dropping, she says, Renee was scared of being abandoned and hated by Lord Devourer. He tells her, I will never abandon you or hate you. Let us both go back home, back to the Primordial Core. We see a flashback of the time when boss first brought Renee to Primordial Core. He tells Pedrick that, I saw her while I was resolving the Graphenia arson case, but I saw her again at the research lab. I thought it was fate, so I brought her with me. Looking at her, Pedrick says, so all the research on homunculi is contained in this tiny body. And he thinks, this place is overflowing with so much dark energy. It is called the underworld. Seeing as she is not trembling in fear when she is in the strongest boss room, she must possess a strong mentality and physique. He asks boss, what is his plan with this child? Boss tells him that, I am going to let her live here. I thought she had a lot of talents, so I am going to teach her how to fight, and, if she cannot fight, I will let her live comfortably. She has experience working as a maid, so maybe I can order her to cook. Pedrick starts panicking as he asks, boss, are you serious? Who is going to teach her? Boss points at Pedrick. He does not want to do it. Boss tells him, why are you playing hard to get? You always tell me you are bored, because you do not have anything to do. Pedrick thinks, since she is a homunculus, her physical abilities must be great, and deep down, she should still have hatred toward humans subconsciously. And he asks about the name of this child. Boss is too lazy to still remember that. Pedrick says, boss, since you brought her here, you should use this opportunity to give her a new name. After thinking about it, he says, should I call you Renee? Pedrick says, that sounds nice. As he turns back, boss is already asleep. Pedrick turns to Renee and says, first, let us learn how to smile. Shaping it with his fingers. In the present, we see Pedrick yelling, what the hell did you do and hasten for us to be able to feel the ground trembling here? Did you do a mad dance in the middle of the village? Boss replies, Pedrick, there are always exceptions to a monster's life. Pedrick points at the little girl boss is holding, and asks, boss, don't tell me you kidnapped a child. Boss replies, do you really think I would do a troublesome thing like that? Pedrick is annoyed and asks, where did Miss Renee go, and why did you bring this child here? Boss replies in a sad tone, Pedrick, about that, I met Renee at the human village. She looked tired. Maybe I might have been restricting her from living her life. Pedrick says, if you got turned down, you should have said that. Why are you beating around the bush? Then boss tells him, fine, now you wear a maid costume and look after the dungeon. Pedrick pulls out his resignation letter, which he always keeps at hand. He asks boss, so what are you going to do now? He replies, what do you mean, I am going to wait? I do not know when she will come back again. Pedrick starts walking away, and thinks it is best to leave him alone when he is like this. He will be depressed, and it will be tough, but it will get better as time passes. Pedrick stops in the way, and says, boss, she is here, the person you have been waiting for. Renee comes out, and asks if boss has eaten yet. She can prepare a meal right now if he wants. As Pedrick looks at her eye, he is shocked. Was he crazy enough to give her that, or was he sane enough to do that, or was he being sincere? We see a flashback of boss telling Renee, your right eye is completely damaged. If you could see properly, would you have been able to differentiate them properly? If you still possess the feelings you had from before, bring me the Real Love Stone next time, as he gives Renee his eye. She is too happy to receive a gift like that. After that we see little Lymph waking up from the water dropping from the cave. She thinks about, where is this place, and what happened? She gets shocked, as she watches Pedrick sharpening his blade close to her. And she asks, I think I died. Are you a death god? Is this hell? Pedrick tells her, what are you talking about? This is primordial core. She realizes that this skeleton is not a death god, but Sir Pedrick. He stands up saying, I wonder how long will he be sleeping? As he kicks the boss to wake him up. Boss says while yawning, I was sleeping so well, why are you doing this? As he sees, Lymph has woken up from her sleep. She starts kneeling, as she figures out that this must be Lord Devourer. As she was about to introduce herself, boss says, you are Lymphagria, Asmodeus bloodlines, 17th descendant. She is confused, how does he know about her, and says, I guess, Mr. Devd must have told you. She starts looking around for him, saying I remember giving final judgment to those humans, and collecting beheading Fang. Boss finally reveals the truth and says, I am Devd. As she processes this, she starts panicking, thinking about how she was misbehaving in front of Lord Devourer all this time. We see Pedrick asking with a cold gaze, boss, the part where she said, final judgment to the humans, don't you have something to tell me? We see a forest in the border of Haston. A woman is picking up herbs thinking, they told me not to go in, but nothing has happened, as I expected. She hears a sound, and as she turns around, there is an injured human there. She tries to find some herbs to help them. We see that it is Nifrim, and he attacks and eats her. He returns back to the capital in hiding. Dungeons are war zones. There are virtues you must follow in order to survive on the battlefield. One of those virtues is minimum tension. We see Renee shouting, silence is basic, when you are in boss room, how many times do I have to tell you? Lymph does not want to follow that rule, because she is a free dungeon monster. They both start fighting, as Lymph wants to meet the boss, but Renee tells her that he is sleeping. Lymph turns into waifu form, saying, that is why you need me, until boss sleeps peacefully, I will share my body warmth with him, as I stick to his side. You are stingy in this regard, too old-fashioned, you are like an old man. Renee loses her cool after hearing that. She starts chasing Lymph, swinging her blades. They both are causing a mess in the dungeon. We see boss saying, they are so loud, I cannot even sleep. Pedrick says, are you in a position to say something like that, when there is an uproar outside due to a certain someone? Boss asks if it is really that bad outside. Pedrick tells him, I know, you have not been looking at the newspapers I have been giving you. In order to strengthen capital's defense, troops were brought in excessively, from all over the place. It is said that villages on the border are being devastated by monsters. Also, the Lord of Haston has committed suicide. Thanks to that, Haston is in a state of emergency. After 3 weeks of searching through all the human newspapers I could find, I only discovered 3 articles mentioning Hasten. Do you know what this implies? Boss is ignorant about all this, so Pedrick gets pissed and yells, "Are you even thinking before speaking? I really am going to turn my letter of resignation in this time." Boss starts to panic and apologizes to him. Then we see Boss asking Pedrick what he thinks about this situation. He replies, "I am not sure. Since there is not much information, there is not much I can be certain of. The best I can guess is that Hasten has cut off all contact with outside world. Since you destroyed the village, you should remember how bad it was. Not hearing any news from a village that has suffered devastating damage is most definitely not a good thing. But the primordial core needs Hasten. As long as we keep an eye out on Hasten, we can tell when and how big of a raid force will be coming for us. That is why we have to get to Hasten as soon as possible. I do not know what will happen if we delay any longer." Boss tells him to have a safe trip and not to overwork himself, as he thinks, "Please, don't ask me, I want to sleep more." Pedrick starts walking away. Boss feels relaxed, thinking, "That was easy, I can take a nap now." Pedrick turns around and says, "No matter how much I think about it, it would be too much for me to go alone. It would be good to have another person go with me." Boss looks around for someone whom he can throw this task at. As he looks at Lymph, he thinks she is a bit dangerous. If she was a type of magic, she would be explosion magic. If she uses the skill she used at the capital, there would be nothing left of Hasten. Renee volunteers if she can go. Boss thinks, nope, no way. If Lymph is explosion magic, Renee would be giant explosion magic. Her not doing anything is her helping. Then we see Pedrick smiling and saying, "Since we do not know how long it will take, it would be best for the boss to come with me." Boss fell into his own trap. Now he cannot escape from this responsibility. Boss gets an idea and says, "Me going would be perfect, but what should I do? I broke that bracelet last time. I cannot polymorph anymore." Pedrick replies, "You are right. You definitely won't be able to come with me without the bracelet." Boss starts smirking, thinking his plan worked, and now he can sleep peacefully. After that, we see him saying, "You really want die a peaceful death?" Pedrick replies, "You even went out of your way to curse me, but I apologize, as this body is already dead. You clearly said that you cannot go because of the bracelet." As we see another bracelet on his hand that Pedrick had kept for something like this. Now that he is wearing that, he cannot decline going out. We see them outside the gates of Hasten village. They start roaming around, as Pedrick tells him about 4 simple methods to see how vibrant a human village is. The first one is to check how busy the market area is, which is totally empty here. The second is to check the chimneys of the houses, but it is too late past dinner time, we cannot check that anymore. Third, check how many mercenaries and raid forces are at the subjugation request center, but that has nothing to do with Hasten. The last one is to check the inns or bars. Boss is quick on his feet when it comes to places to rest. He enters a bar and asks for a place to stay. But they notice that the place is empty. This is really bad. This place is not functioning as a village at all. Somewhere around the village, we see lots of corpses and someone raising them as zombies. It is a lich who wants to destroy the empire because it is at its weakest point due to previous incident with the boss. Inside the inn, Boss and Pedrick realize that the situation here is really bad. It seems that Hasten village has been completely isolated. A voice comes from behind, asking, "Who is there?" When they turn around, it's the owner of the inn. He asks them the reason for coming here, as he tries to draw his weapon in fear. He suspects them for attackers, so Pedrick tells him he is a knight belonging to the Black Dog Suppression Force and asks for some food and a place to rest. The owner apologizes for the misunderstanding and tells them that he does not have any food to serve a knight. It is not just his place anywhere in this village, and it will be a hard time finding something to eat. Pedrick asks if this was because of the black disaster. The owner tells him, "If you know about that, I hope you understand the situation here, Currently, we do not have any rooms ready at the moment. Pedrick thinks that in a situation like this, the price of water must be exceeding that of an accommodation. He tosses a gold coin to the owner saying, "What about now, is it still not ready?" The owner changes his attitude and guides them to the room upstairs. As they were walking upstairs, owner asks about boss, walking behind Pedrick. Pedrick replies, "This guy, he is my slave," and starts talking how good of a slave he is. They both can stay in the same room, so he asks, which room should they go for? Inside the room, boss is happy about the condition of it. He jumps into the bed saying, "This is much better than the place we stayed in the capital." Boss asks Pedrick, "Did you really had to go with me being a slave?" Pedrick replies, "Of course, boss. You always wear those clothes because they are the most comfortable ones. If you walk around in those shabby clothes, you will be treated like a beggar. It is much better to be treated as a slave. If you look like a beggar, someone will pick a fight with you, but slaves are properties of their owners, so others cannot mess with them easily. It is perfect for you, since you can't even be bothered to change clothes, and you want to move as little as possible." Boss replies, "Of course, in my next life, I will definitely be reborn as a rock." Pedrick tells him to wait here and rest. He will be heading out to find some clues, as in the nighttime, most of the places will be easier to enter. As Pedrick stands on top of a building, he thinks the imperial family was ready to express their anger over this issue, but before that, Lord of Haston, Count Atark, died. He is curious about who is in charge of Haston now. It is clear that the imperial family, who had lost their chance, will direct their anger at the family of the Lord. With that in mind, could the blood of Count Atark inherited his title? And he decides to go look for the new lord of the village. As he tries to enter, he notices that the security is much tighter now. He could kill or knock them out, but it will create a mess later in the morning. He jumps out of the building because someplace has caught his attention. Most humans do not notice this, but there is a strong smell of death in a place like this as he enters an underground area. We see the boss resting in his bed. Someone knocks on the door looking for the night. It's the owner, telling him that he has prepared some food downstairs. As they start walking, the owner introduces himself as Novan Heataker. He tells him about the situation after the Black Disaster and how everything is in a mess. Because of that, the Lord of Haston committed suicide. Traffic in Haston has been cut off. Outside walls were littered with dead bodies of people who died from starvation. He tells boss they should leave this place as soon as possible, and I will be doing the same. We see someone enter the place with bruised body, battered clothes, and long red hairs. Red-haired girl jumps inside the room, thinking to stay in a place like this when the village is in this state. They must be outsiders. And on top of that, this is the most expensive room. They must be really rich. She looks around for anything valuable she can steal. She notices our boss's rugged cape, thinking, these people were supposed to be rich, why do they have something like this? She takes the cape to use it to wrap stuff up. She looks around, but cannot find anything worth taking. After a while, as she was checking a drawer, when she opened it, she found something with a surprised look on her face. Sometime after that, we see Pedrick coming back and tells boss that he stopped by the Lord's castle. He wanted to at least catch a glimpse of the new Lord, but the security was tighter than he expected. It was fruitless. He asks boss if he found out anything, but how can he expect something like that from a lazy boss? Still, boss tells him Haston has been cut off from outside. Other than that, the owner did not know much either. Pedrick is shocked by the fact that the boss actually did something. Pedrick starts teasing him saying, let us dig a bit deeper into that tomorrow. As he notices the open windows, he tells boss, it would be best if you kept the windows closed. I only left one open before leaving, but now, both are open. A burglar could come in at this rate. Boss tells him, what are you talking about? I have not even touched the windows. After that, boss notices that his outerwear is missing, which was made by Renee for him. Pedrick had kept something in the drawers, which was gone too. When asked What was missing? With a dreaded look he said, "It was my rib bone." After that, we see that thief running in an alley, hoping she must have come far away to be safe. Someone confronts her saying, "Rosalina, where are you headed, in the middle of the night? I told you not to wander around so late at night." She replies, "I was not wandering around for no reason, it was for everyone." Man interrupts her by saying, "Wasting energy, moving about, and starving is that, for everyone, you are talking about." Someone else comes in saying, "Do not pressure her so much. It's their captain," he says. "A thief should not be afraid of the night. That is not something to scold her about. But wandering around without telling anyone is something she did wrong. The outside is already so dangerous. Before you act on your own, you should think about how you could cause problems for others. This place is different from your old warm and comforting house." He asked her what she was doing. She shows them the loot she found, telling them she brought it from the most expensive room. It was placed deep in the drawer, and it was so clean. With disappointment, Captain tells her this is a rib bone of a human. She is shocked to hear about that. Captain holds the bone and says it must be someone's hobby, or a bone used for magic. There are perverted bastards who kill their slaves and use their body parts as decoration. He thinks to himself, this would be even more dangerous if this is stolen from someone who practices necromancy or dark magic. Even this outwear looks like it is from a beggar, but it is made from the finest materials. When he checks the pockets, they find a lot of gold coins. They all get excited with the loot they got. A voice comes from behind, "It was really hard to find you guys. We came to the right place this time." Captain realizes that these are the people who were staying in an expensive room in a collapsing village. I should have figured things out faster. We messed with people we should not have. We see the boss and Pedrick telling them, "We came to reclaim our stuff." Pedrick says, "Those clothes were a present from Renee. If I were to leave another hole in Renee's heart, I have no idea what would happen." The leader is surprised to be located so quickly. Boss wants to finish this quickly and go back to sleep. Pedrick can let it go for him being so lazy, just for today, since he has been running around for so long. Pedrick tells the leader, "You chose the wrong items to steal. Do you still have no thoughts of returning it nicely?" But the leader knows there is no guarantee that these guys would just leave if I were to return the item. And he thinks that even if Rosalina had left traces, they found us too quickly in the dark. It is only possible if they traced us using dark magic. They must be dark magicians. He asks if that rib bone is really important to them. Pedrick tells him, "That's a given. It is a part of my body. Stop stalling for time and return it." The leader throws the bones into the air and tells everyone to retreat in the meantime. Pedrick jumps quickly to catch his falling bones. Suddenly, someone attacks him from the dark, smashing a big rock onto his head, only to realize it did not affect him. We see someone trying to stab Boss from the back, but as soon as it reaches him, the sword gets broken. He grabs that man from the neck and asks, "Pedrick, what should we do about them?" He suggests, "How about we knock them all out first?" Boss asks, "You really want to let them all live?" He replies, "I am not saying we should let them live, but to treat all of them the same." But Boss is too tired to control his strength properly. Pedrick stomps one into the ground saying, "At least you should try to do so." Inside the primordial core, we see Lymph and Renee chatting over some tea. Boss has been away for almost half a day. Renee is worried about him and says if it is fine for just the two of them to enjoy a relaxing break like this. Lymph tells her to stop overthinking it. There is no reason for a great person like him to skip meals. Renee agrees with her and says, "Mr. Devourer and Pedrick are just at a nearby human village. How could they run into any trouble?" Back to the human village. Boss and Pedrick got their items back. Looking at the fallen leader, Pedrick says, "I was hoping that they would have a map since they are thieves, but I guess we are unlucky." As he turns around, Boss is already lying on the ground, telling him, "You should lie down too, it is cozier than you think." We see Rosalina walking up from behind. She kneels and starts crying, saying, "I was the one who stole, others don't have anything to do with it, so please take me instead of others." One of the thieves tells her to get up, as he already knows they have no intention of letting us go. Boss tells Pedrick to take care of it. As he starts walking towards them, the thief pulls out a blade saying, "I will kill you if you get any closer." We see Rosalina bring out an item, which starts releasing mana after use. After noticing that, Pedrick quickly gets close to her and asks, "Where did you get this item?" And thinks, a rosario, in the shape of a phoenix, that resembles a reversed cross, and the mana that leaks out from it is mana for surveillance. To have an item like this on a resident of the slums. He turns back and tells the boss that the people of this village are being spied upon by someone. Once that girl prayed with the rosario, surveillance mana started leaking out. That means rosario will activate under special conditions. If we can find out those conditions, we will be able to figure out what the person who gave her that item is up to. Boss says, it's not like Haston is a city known for magic. First the magic stone, and now an item with magic in it. Pedrick tells him, "I will try to get the humans to cooperate with us, so follow my lead." He asks Pedrick, "What are you planning to do now?" He tells him as he taps on his helmet that he has something amazing thought up in his head. We see Pedrick apologizing to the humans and saying, "We received a royal decree not to leave any traces of those we had conflicts with behind. To be honest, we are from a secret organization that takes direct orders from Empire's royalty, the Fog of Roano, Shadow Knights. We have no intention of causing you any harm at this moment." Humans ask the reason for what they are doing in Haston. Pedrick tells them they are here to save Haston. "The reason why I am going against the royal decree is because I need information from you. I need to figure out the situation and analyze it so that we can send the necessary supplies and manpower here. Let's work together to recover peace in Haston. I need your help with that." Humans start discussing among themselves and decide they should help him because they don't want to live this kind of life. Pedrick turns around and tells Boss that he believes the persuasion is done. These humans were easy to deal with. These lower class are really great at accepting what is given to them. We are just getting started. I am starting to see more and more weird points here. Boss thinks, "I appreciate you trying so hard, but it feels as if things have gotten more problematic and annoying because of you." Pedrick tells him to get up and stop lying on the road. "Since the situation has come to this point, you will have to start working too. I will keep an eye out on the captain, who is most suspicious here, so you should stay with the people and try to get close to them." Boss is shocked after hearing him to get close to the humans. Pedrick tells him that we have no choice between a knight in full armor and the beggar like Boss. Who do you think will have an easier time getting closer to the people? So make sure to get close to them before I get back. Try mingling with them by following what they do. Boss thinks to act more like a human. First, they must spend most of the day asleep. Most of the ones who are awake are in a daze. Even when working, they probably don't make full effort. I can't see them having any motivation. I just have to act, as I have always done. After hearing that, Pedrick glares at him and says, "The religion that passed out the rosarios need to be investigated. Please don't forget. In other words, I am asking you to suck out all the information from these humans. The faster we finish, the faster we go home and rest. And please, keep your composure, even if the humans are a bit rude." Everyone starts asking too many questions to him, making him feel suffocated. If he had a choice, he would have devoured them all by now. One of the kids comes to the boss and asks him if he has ever seen Sir Vern and Sir Wu in Historia in person. He does not even know who they are, but those names do sound familiar to him. We see Rosalina coming to the boss and starts apologizing for stealing his belongings. Boss does not mind it, as he already reclaimed them back. One of the thieves from earlier comes in front and says, "I am called Toph. I will be taking charge in the captain's absence. He told me to fulfill your request as much as possible. You said you had come here to rescue Hasten if you want to know the situation the village is currently in. It will be quicker to see it with your own eyes than to hear about it. Boss is confused about why this guy suddenly started cooperating, but it will be much better to go with him than to be bombarded with questions here. So he agrees to go with him. They go to the residential area first, but there is no one to be seen. Outside a house, Toph tells him, "You will understand when I open this door." When he opens the door, we see two bodies inside who are starved to death. Toph tells him that in this place, you can't even steal food from your neighbors because there is nothing to steal anywhere. Even the ones alive don't know when they will starve to death. After hearing that, Boss thinks, there is something I have been curious about from the start. Usually, when a village faces famine, the anger would be directed at the lord of the territory. And the angered citizens would rise to pick up their pitchforks and torches in revolt. The Black Disaster was also close to the level of famine. But why are people here starving to death without putting up a fight? Toph says it has been over a month since the Black Disaster hit Hasten, why the village is so quiet or why the people are not rising in revolt. Are you not curious, Sir Knight? We see Renee and Lymph still enjoying their tea time. Lymph says, I really wanted to go to Hasten with Mr. Devourer. It is so boring staying in the dungeon. Renee tells her not to think that way. Boss left the dungeon in our care. Could there be anything more important than this? This is us having the full trust of our boss, thinking, of course he trusts me, not Lymph. With a cheerful smile, Lymph says, that's right, I should have figured. Renee tells her, you need to stay focused at all times too, since we never know when humans will invade. Lymph tells her, don't worry, I am checking whenever I get the chance. I already checked 10 minutes ago, but since we are talking about it, I will check again. She has used a mid-rank magic called Observer's Eye to keep a lookout. As Renee is about to go for the cleaning, suddenly, Lymph notices something and says, speak of the devil, someone has invaded. Since this magic did not reach much, the likelihood of the invader being a single person is high. Renee stands up saying, be ready for it, it's coming. A massive aura starts enveloping the place, as someone walks in saying, why are you all so jumpy? Renee and Lymph are surprised. It was Elizabeth, who came to check on Renee. We hear Renee saying, sorry there isn't much, if you had let us know ahead of time, I would have prepared something. Elizabeth says, don't worry. No need to be bothered. I came here unannounced, after all. She winks and says, if you really want to prepare something, you can give me your blood. After that she asks, who is this person, someone new, pointing at Lymph. She starts boasting as she says, if you are asking, I am the one who rules over the monsters, the Demon King. Asmodeus' 17th descendant, Lymph Agria. Renee tells Lymph, I forgot to introduce her to you, this person is the boss of Chite Castle, Lady Elizabeth Báthory. With a nervous look on her face, Lymph asks Renee, will I be able to see all the dungeon bosses if I live here permanently? Renee pinches her face and says, you sure say some funny things, talking about mooching off us here forever, you sure have no shame. Elizabeth asks, if you are saying she is mooching off you, does that mean she is not a member of the primordial core yet? One of her bat turns into a butler to pour her some drink, and she asks, then, where is Pedrick and that dull guy? Renee tells her, they stepped out for a moment. With a serious look, Elizabeth says, why they had to be absent at a time like this. When asked about if something happened, she says, the villages near my castle have all been destroyed. All of the humans must have died, since the village was sprayed with blood, but there were no corpses found. I don't think it was something done by humans. The blood on the floor was all flowing in one direction, as if a path had been made. And at the end of that path was Hasten. What could that mean? Lymph thinks about it and says, it could be an undead. Elizabeth replies, yes, but there are not many who could do something like this. Most undead do not have intelligence. The ones that do have a special title of elder and are of a higher tier. The army of the dead moving together means that someone must be controlling them. The Lord of the Undead, Immortal King, Irivos. I do not have any concrete evidence, but I need to notify that dull guy. Do you have any monsters that can send messages? With an embarrassed look, Renee tells her that the dungeon is currently empty. Renee tells her that she believes in Mr. Devourer's decision. Elizabeth is sympathizing with how this poor thing believes in such a person. It is a good thing Pedrick is resourceful. Limp stands up and starts boasting again, saying, "It is time for this great one to step up. I guess it cannot be helped anymore." Back into the village. We see Toph telling Boss that the black disaster was the start of it all. Not long after that happened, someone set fire to the fields. Due to that, the crops that were ready for harvest all went up in flames, turning into ashes. Around that time, a bad rumor also started to spread. The crops in the area where the black disaster passed were all contaminated. As soon as you put it in your mouth, you would be plagued with something painful. That's how Haston became a cursed land. When the word of even the emperor giving up on Haston spread, the people here fell into despair. But even within despair, there was hope. A rich commoner couple stepped up. Luckily, they had many crops not affected by the fire. They opened their storehouses and gave them out to the residents. There were even people who put the couple forward, saying that they should all put their hands together with the couple as the center. Just when everyone was starting to be hopeful and started to believe, the couple was found bloodied in their home. Someone greedy for more food must have killed them. After that, nobody trusted anyone around them. Since nobody trusts each other, there is no cooperation. Everyone is just fighting to not get their food stolen, starving to death in the end. We of the back alleys were able to survive, thanks to the rumors of the crops being contaminated. Hearing that, Boss thinks, there is no way the crops that have not even touched my body would be contaminated. Someone must have spread those lies with bad intentions. Then, they go outside the gates. They see a pile of corpses. Toph says, since bugs would gather if the corpses were left on the streets, we dug holes and started piling them up like this. We cannot burn them. Most of the people who lost their families, some are still unable to let go. Boss says, you guys can also do it. Toph says, I did not tell you earlier, but the couple that was killed had a daughter. Rosalina's parents are also somewhere in that pile of corpses. Boss asks if those soldiers always stand guard there. Toph says, yes, they guard in 2 shifts. They are not really protecting but controlling it. Boss thinks that soldiers controlling the gates in a situation like this, they must be following the Lord's orders. The Lord of this place is suspicious. After that, we see Pedrick thinking, there is no better way than to directly meet them in such a situation. We won't be able to see through their plans with normal means. And he pulls out an egg, saying, for that reason, I stole a harpy egg. The harpy should come after this egg. That is when I will appear to get rid of them, allowing us to meet the Lord. He starts complimenting himself, saying, it is a brilliant plan. I really must be a genius. That was his plan, but he realizes he messed something up when he sees a big horde of harpies flying towards the location of the egg. We see a man who has committed suicide and a girl witnessing it in despair. It starts telling her, you have to survive, Lala, never forget, you have to survive. Girl wakes up. It was a dream that has been haunting her for a while. This is Lala Itark, new Lord of Haston. She walks towards the balcony and thinks, it has been a couple of weeks since I obtained this position. I can still recall the day my brother died. My family members ran away with all the money. In such a situation, there is only one way for me to survive. That is, to restore Haston. After that, we see her sitting on the throne. In front of her is a man wearing a cape. She says, you promised salvation. You said that you would protect me, as well as my territory. With anger, she shouts, take a look outside. Is this the salvation you spoke of? The man replies, I do not break my promises. Soon, I will put to sleep all the problems that this village is facing. Hearing that, she thinks, this person never speaks in detail about his plans, but right now, I have no choice but to believe him. Then he says, everything is going according to plan, so my lady, just keep living your comfortable life like you have been. With an ominous smile, he says, soon, all the problems will disappear. She has her doubts, but she has to believe him for now. One of the butlers comes in with a report about the security of Haston. According to the guards, there was an assault by a group of harpies, but a knight appeared out of nowhere and took care of it in one hit. Lala asks about which knight order does he belongs to, but they have no information about him yet. She asks the butler, where is that knight right now? She tells her that he is in the reception room in the castle. Mystery Man speaks, my lady, please reconsider your choices. You can't rule out the possibility that he could be an assassin disguised as a knight. Lala tells him that the knight being a suspicious person does not negate the achievement of saving Haston. To reward that effort is what the Lord of Haston should do, and asks to bring the knight for a meeting. We see Pedrick saying, the wandering knight greets the Lord of Haston. I was worn out from the rough travels to get to Haston, but seeing the noble lady alone seemed rewarding enough for the hard times. Lala says, I was told that it was due to your bravery and honor that Haston was protected. I thank you on behalf of all of Haston. Pedrick thinks, you can tell she is not fit to be a lord just by looking. Based on her age, she seems to be the younger sister of the previous lord. Lala asks him, which family's knight are you? But he keeps silent and does not respond. When asked about his name, he says, I regret to inform you, but I am unable to state my name either. I request that you be understanding. Lala says, you sure are keeping many things hidden. Will you deny my request for you to remove your helmet as well? Pedrick replies, this face of mine is riddled with battle scars. Half of the skin on my face was sliced off, making it unpleasant to look at. But if it is okay with you, I will take it off, my lady. Lala replies, do not bother, I will let it go. I may not be able to offer you much, but I would still like to reward you with something. Is there something you want? Pedrick requests some food and thinks, the most important thing right now in Haston is food. I will be able to find out the current status of the castle through her answers. Lala says, that will not be a problem and asks them to go prepare it. Hearing that, Pedrick thinks, wow, she replies without a second thought. Meaning food in the castle is not lacking. Then why would the lady leave the people of Haston in such bad conditions? Also, this energy that I can feel since I am an undead. That man gives off a sense of familiarity. After that, Pedrick says, may I ask you a question? There is something that has been bothering me for a while. What is your identity? Pointing at the caped man. We see Pedrick and Boss talking. Boss asks, if you felt a sense of familiarity, that must mean he was an undead, but you just left him there. Pedrick replies, do you expect me to get into a brawl there? Also, just because I felt something, does not mean that he is an undead. I can feel such things from necromancers. Depending on the amount they have accrued in their body, can also release the energy of undead. Boss says, how can you take time to check every individual like that? I would have just taken care of him on the spot. Pedrick gets angry and says, we came here to clean up the mess you created, not to cause more problems. Do you really want me to resign? When asked if Boss found anything, he says, the people here seem to believe that the crops here are tainted with the plague. So the villagers refused to eat the crops and died of starvation. And that thief girl, Rosalina, it was hard to get close to her since she kept running away. Pedrick says, it would have been nice to have mind control magic, maybe I should have brought Lymph along. Boss gets annoyed saying, you are saying that after dragging a person who did not want to come in the first place. After that, Pedrick pulls out a bag and says, this is the food I received from the Lord. Let's try to win Rosalina over with this. We see Rosalina, scared of something. Our boss corners her. But he just wants to share some food with her. She gives in, realizing this is the communal wafer given by the priest. Boss asks her, who is this priest she is talking about? After that, we see them walking in the woods. As she says, I did not expect to meet a fellow believer of the priest. Everybody seems stupid. All you have to do is give your unconditional faith, and you will be saved. They reach their destination as they stand outside a creepy-looking cave. They start walking down the stairs filled with lit-up torches. Inside we hear someone saying, the disaster of Haston is a trial given to the humans for their evil deeds. That person is an omnipotent being who can overcome this situation. And as believers who gained his trust, we should be praised as the chosen ones. Boss and Rosalina enter and sit with the crowd. Man continues to never forget the divine message that has been given to us. Today as well, we will eat the blessings provided by that person. Boss thinks, it does not seem special at all, is it just brainwashing? Suddenly, everyone around him stands up. Rosalina says, looks like we just came on time, it's time for the liturgy of Eucharist. It's when the priest hands out the wafer. Looking at it, Boss thinks, it's the same thing that Pedrick received from Hastings' Lord. Why was something like that in the Lord's castle? Rosalina whispers to him, this is a secret that I am only telling you. When that person comes to save Hastings, it is said that whoever truly believes in him will have eternal happiness. It is said that you will receive an even bigger blessing if you do. When asked about that, she was not sure what it is, but it must be something better than a wafer, like meat or something. The priest approaches Rosalina and gives her a wafer. As he gives the boss a wafer, he says, I have not seen you around before. I hope you will come around more often. Boss notices a strange manna surrounding it. He gets annoyed and whispers to him, I don't really care what you do to the humans. You should not overstep your boundaries by trying to investigate me. The priest realizes that Boss is not human and says, I will make sure to remember you. Rosalina is surprised and asks if something is wrong. He says, it's nothing, I was just thanking him for giving us something to eat. Let's go. As they reach Hastings, they both bid farewell to each other. Boss says, there are so many suspicious things that I might not even need the actual evidence. This cult led the isolated Hastings, using unknown manna, brainwashing and watching over them. As well as the guy with the undead aura who was by Lord's side. With how well everything fits in place, it will be hard for even me to miss. There is definitely someone behind them. We see Lymph, who is charmed by hearing that Boss has already figured things out. After that we see Lymph saying, Lady Batory stopped by the primordial core. She said that Hastings would face the undead soon. She had found traces of abnormal phenomena around Chite Castle moving in the direction of Hastings. She also said, the person most likely to be responsible for this is Irivos. Boss replies, he is most likely the culprit, but even that is just a guess. She says, I have thought about it a lot. Isn't it normal for a place taken over by the undead to be overwhelmed by their numbers? Are you not curious why he did not choose that method instead? If my guess is right, he should have used the flow of mana, and she used a magic called mana detection to confirm that, and says, I knew it, it was as I guessed. As we see mana pointing in a single direction.